Good morning, everybody. Don't forget MT Live today, and Dan is doing a presentation, I think later in the afternoon at 2:40. It'll be good. They always are. You can post that in the social media chat, Dan, if you have it. All right. So we've had several days now of not getting what we want when we want it. Let's put it that way. Of this sideways consolidation and you know, we've talked about it. Yesterday, I suggested it would be another inside day, and that's exactly what we got. other than the Qs, which have moved a bit higher with the help of the semiconductors and a few other techs. But you can see here on the diamonds. Let's get the hold on here. Where's my little tool thing? Oh, here we go. All right. This consolidation that we've been in, and let's look at it on the day chart, and you can see this sideways movement. It's just, we were talking in the room yesterday a little bit, and Alex brought it up because I had this thing about the frog in the blender, which is a pretty, visually disturbing thought, but it's what's going on here where it's just bouncing back and forth in this range day to day. And it looks like it's going to go higher and it doesn't. It looks like it's going to go lower and it doesn't. And, you look at the 5-minute chart and it's just, a heart attack EKG whipping up and down, back and forth. And it is what it is. And so we're waiting for this to resolve itself one way or another. I would prefer it pull back because that creates I think, a bigger opportunity to exceed this high. And I think, why would I think it would exceed that high? Because of the move up. And we discussed this breadth internal, having moved like that historically, it leads to higher prices. But we'll just have to see how this unfolds. Right now, we've got a little down move that there was some economic report. And if we look at it on a 5-minute, probably looks a little bit more ominous with the big down move there. So in any event, it's still in a trading range. The blue area is pre-market, and this is the white area is what happens during the day, which is most relevant because this is where most of the activity occurs. So there's a support area down here on the diamonds, which is the bottom of the range, of course. And the question is, as always, we have questions. When it gets down there, do they buy it again? Should we buy it again? Meaning maybe it goes right back up to the top of the range again. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You can buy it down there and see if it goes back up to the top of the range. But as time goes on, every pattern, as I always say, represents the actions, beliefs, and expectations of traders. So what's been happening over a period of time, eventually, either it has to spike down and move back up, which we call a correction bar, or it gets down there and the buyers show up again. Pavlov's dog, right? They're going to just do the same thing again. And why not until it stops working? And if it rattles around, it doesn't flip right back up again. It rattles around down there for 20 minutes or so. Traders then get tired or thinking, hey, it's not going to bounce. I better bail, scratch this thing for a small loss or gain or whatever. And maybe then it does drop. So we have to continually observe the price action, see what it is. If you're trading from the daily time frame, there's nothing to do because it's consolidating. If we were to get a correction bar, which would be a spike down and back up again, then we go long above the high, looking for it to go higher. If we get a red day down, well, maybe it goes down to the 50 MA where we look to be buyers. That was resistance becomes support. Right? This was the resistance to the top of that bar. And we get a turn and then we look to buy it down there. The only thing we wouldn't buy is, well, I couldn't say we wouldn't buy it. If there was a collapse down to major support, we'd buy that if it was a fluid move. But right now, we're just chopping around here. And unless you're a day trader, there's just nothing to do. Right? There's no high quality swing trades as far as the indices go. All right, let me over here set up for some SPX. So the Qs have been stronger, but they're collapsing now. So maybe this is a good sign that they're throwing in the towel. It's going to gap down under a bar that poked above these highs. And I was looking at charts last night and I'm like, you know, I always think about the pattern that there is, what it suggests, and what could turn that around. And this pattern right here is one that let's just call it the potential for a suck-in trade, right? Meaning a gotcha trade, where it has this little consolidation. And if you go and listen to yesterday's video, I spoke about this resistance area and why this really wouldn't be a great setup to continue from here. And look, I just look at patterns and it's like, okay, this is not a great setup to go higher. But look, if it can hold up here intraday, then I'd be thinking, yes, go with it. But just the initial move off of this high is not a desirable high probability pattern. And now this is collapsing. It's coming down to the day chart, the white area, the major support, and you see buyers are standing down there, waiting down there, right? There's going to be bids down at that prior low. And I'll say it again because I love to say it. Look to the left. It's that simple. Right? And there may be a fib line down there. There may be a VWAP. There may be who the hell knows what. Just look over here where it poked down and it rallied, and there's going to be bids down there. Period. It doesn't mean you place a trade, but clearly somebody will. If they were short, they're going to bid down there. It's another representation of, charts are representations of what other people think and what they're doing. So the momentum of this move to the downside is powerful. Supply came in and overwhelmed whatever demand there was. Now it's stabilizing. Can it whip back up again? Can it rattle around and go sideways? If it goes back up, bravo, they bought it down there. But it's unlikely to go sideways. I mean, rip back up. If it chops around down there, it opens up the door to going lower. And we'll see where it is at 930, but it's gapping below a bar that broke out, and that's bearish. And that could open up the door, should open up the door to some type of a pullback, ideally around here to these converging moving averages. All right. IWM, that little collapse there, and back down. So same story, right? Jiggling around. Ideally, we get some kind of a pullback. That would be ideal. And SPY, and same collapse down to that prior low. And going to gap down to the bottom of the little trading range there and see the 65-minute chart. And so now, all of this sideways consolidation, people are buying it there. People are selling it there. Longs are thinking, it's got to break out soon. Now it's gapping below there. That demand turns into supply. There's an unfilled gap. Over here is where there's more significant support around those moving averages. And so that opens up the door to, I think, a move lower today. But we'll see what happens at the open. And let me look at SPX here. So, okay. It's at the bottom of the range, as you can see. And we look at SPX. And yeah, Dan, we pointed those out yesterday, G&E and AMD. Those were reversals yesterday that I pointed out. All right, 66.90. So they're pushing that way down. That's good. $68.95. And that's up again. Huh. No, 68. Let's call it 68.70. Okay. There you go. And so down below here, good. Getting back up there today, highly unlikely. Take your pick. Probably good for an iron condor. I don't know, far enough away, but initially gapping down here, it's got to get through top of that congestion area. Unlikely it's going up there today. And I don't see any reason it could possibly go down there today. The news is already out. All right. Bitcoin was up last couple of days. And maybe it's bottomed out. I'm not so sure. So far, it's just chopping around down here. That's a nice reversal, of course. I'll see what it does today. It's coming in a little bit here. Momentum move to the downside. If you look at this as you can, well, there's a collapse on a weekly chart there. It's down at the bottom. I'll wait on this, but definitely want to see what it does down here. Probably good for a put spread. Well, not Bitcoin, but some of the other suspects that trade with it. Crude oil's been doing a lot of nothing for a while, and it's still doing a lot of nothing. And gold. So this is bullish price action in gold. It's at this pivot high. It had a red day yesterday, which is not a big deal. If it can close green, that's an add. That would be an add, looking for that to go higher, which it was an entry down here, which we pointed out. Silver made new all-time highs, and that is not pulling back very much. It's just hanging up there. So that's bullish also. I think it's building a base. Same as we looked at the indices. They got extended short term and they're building a base. It's in an uptrend. There's nothing to the left. So does it pull back? It's not pulling back yet. Right. Interest rates coming in a little bit. And I mentioned that I was surprised the market held up as well as it did with interest rates pushing higher like that. But, sometimes things get out of sync. They're not lined up. Now they're down a little bit and the markets are down. So I think right now, it seems to me most aren't too interested in what interest rates are doing, waiting to see what the Fed is going to do. And as we know, there's a very high probability that they're going to cut, right? And we've been talking about this. We've talked about this for years because this is what we follow as far as what the Fed is going to do with interest rates. And this continues to confirm that they're absolutely going to cut. And so the market is pulling back here today. And I think just traders just getting tired of it not going higher. So they'll buy at lower levels. And other than that, we were looking at KRE on a pullback, and I think that's still the case since it had to move up. And semiconductors, which we'll see now, that's gapping down a little bit. And SMH, this is moved down. So a gap down under this little poke up bar there, I think that kind of puts a lock in it. That's my initial thought as far as pullback going in the Qs and I think the broader markets. All yours, Dan.
Yeah. Good morning. Does anyone know what the news was? When I saw the Qs go negative, I just looked at the fangs, and Microsoft was tanking, Meta, Nvidia. So that sure looks like something came out. All right, alarms here. AMD. Greg mentioned sell setup yesterday. So that would be a great 30-minute low. GE, bear 123, 30-minute low. You got a 123 on the weekly, rolling over, topping pattern, kind of a climb. Man, look at that run. And I think this happened right when they spun off those other two companies. So that turned out to be an amazingly positive decision for them. Curve, this is just an early alarm. We have a put spread in the 70s that expired Wednesday. Our little Roadrunner had a nice pop this morning. A little bottoming pattern. Made the turn, red bar ignored, bullish price action. I said yesterday this was an ad as a new trade. So obviously it looks like some kind of news out. So that looks good. XYF is a Climo I've been watching for a while. I guess had an up alarm go off, but it's still not ready. I wouldn't mess with this unless I got a closing reversal, because that sell off was pretty bearish and steady. But momentum slowing. You got a narrow bar, tails. Wait, that's it on alarms. Situm. We were talking about yesterday. Situm would be a great 1, 2, 3. I'll put that in the window though. TMOS over yesterday's high. You know, it's look at the nasty downtrend, but deep retracement. And here's your pullback and turn. So not marrying the thing, but and I don't like hopefully it won't trigger with the markets coming in here. Q 618. Yeah. All right. Go to earnings. AEO gapping up. This could be a gap and crap. So this is a call spread watch. Put it here. Box gapping down 10%. That's ugly. 27.50. That's gapping. That's ugly. But no entry. Around 500. No pattern. But now that's a breakout failure. GitLab 39. Another bearish gap. That has room to fall. Look at this sideways consolidations gapping under that. All right, so let's watch this one for an entry. Leslie Pools. Wow. Look, wow, this thing was $400 during COVID. Look at that. People swimming because they couldn't go to work. Wow, that belongs in a college study of what the hell did they do wrong? It's a shareholder destruction. Here's the competitor pool. Nothing to do. Marvel, 99 bucks. Another gap and crap. You can see pre-market, it was up at 104. When you do gap and craps, the bigger the gap, the better. For obvious reasons, gets the rubber band stretch more and more profit taking, and more people interested in shorting for it being overvalued. Okta 77. That's bearish. But we don't have a setup. Postage 79. A bearish gap, but near these prior lows. I have that on the bottom right. Let's watch that for a 30-minute high put spread. Well, pre-market here, IWM is retracing. Wow, retraced 50%. Look at this. This is pre-market and rebounded 50% already. RY, Royal Bank of Canada. What a nice little 1, 2, 3 breakout here. I'm pretty sure we were watching those at the time, but this one, overlapping bars. Yeah. Dollar Tree, it's whipping around here pre-market. This will be a great put spread, 30-minute high. Let's just let it stabilize here for a little bit. And if it can hold yesterday's low, 107.50. Perfect put spread trade for Friday. Macy's slopping around, no pattern. So that's a continuation pattern. This is kind of what Greg was talking about with the broader markets. You know, and there were different levels of resistance on the index ETFs, but see, this is a big move, and this is a continuation pattern with a void up to the prior high. But no pattern now. Yeah, I remember BNS. I think I remember it over here. Yeah. We bought it that day, and that's right. Exactly. We bought that and wrote it up. And those are all the earnings. Let's just look at miscellaneous stuff now. LUV, another continuation pattern we were talking about with a bullish weekly monthly. Whereas, you know, this one's stronger, it cleared this prior resistance. So gapping down, ideally we get a 1, 2, 3, and we can buy over the high tomorrow. Would be nice. I'm going to set an alarm now at 35.65. Bitcoin up. I always watch at least a couple of stocks, Mr. And then even, you know, Bitcoin, BTC. I had a nice day yesterday, and I like the Climo on the weekly. The problem is, you know, unless you're trading the weekly chart, there's no clear entry here is the problem. But I think it's poised for a bounce. So you got Mr. Same. You got a Climo weekly up here at resistance. Ideally, it just keeps give me a couple more of these bars like this over here, and then this will be an inverse head and shoulder breakout. Left shoulder, head, but I don't have my right shoulder yet. Coin, hood. Hood's holding up the best. WGMI is the ETF for the miners. That had an uglier day yesterday, so that is definitely lagging Bitcoin. ACN up alarm. Wow, we have a put spread on this, so that's relative strength for an up alarm. Reset it higher now. 264. We covered half yesterday. TMOS we talked about. CNXC, the bottoming pattern. I got an alarm at 36.80. INOD, beautiful turn, closing breakout. So that looks great to buy yesterday's high. And I love when they gap down a little bit like this, because then they're not going to trigger unless they're strong. So then that gives me extra confidence of the pattern. MTB, a couple of banks here. Alex mentioned yesterday, I have an alarms on all three of them. PNC, RF. Right, alarm. Hey, there you go. That's a buy setup after a breakout. One of you mentioned yesterday, and I liked it. Wow, you see an up alarm again. Wow. So this is a very nice candidate. Let's just give it a little time because of the market gap down, but that is a definite nice candidate. So get rid of AEO here. Site looks good. NUE, we're in this, we're in trail mode. NUE looks great, relative strength. Net alarm. You know, I was posting to the wrong Telegram yesterday. So we did not, subscribers did not get into this. CNXC alarm. The bottoming pattern. We'll give it time, ideally a 30-minute high. PAN-W alarm. All right, that's another one that didn't trigger. I canceled it, I think. Curve, low alarm, small little breakout failure. Where's our stop? Oh, we have a put spread on this. We're short the 70s for Friday. Let me see where it's at. Ah, is that it? I read something pre-market while the futures were up, saying there were some tariff feuds going around in Europe. Nice entry on your TQQQ. Interesting. So, Alex, I wonder what that will do to Costco's lawsuit then.
Did you hear Trump saying that they're taking in so much money on the tariffs? He's suggesting to eliminate taxes. Federal
Yeah,
tax.
yeah, I said that last week too. AXS alarm. It's early, but this is holding well. So I'll set the alarm higher at 102.70 now. Well, Greg, I also read an article in today's paper about they're really moving forward, trying to substantially reduce property taxes here in Florida. And,
Yeah.
you know, of course that's good news, but man, how are you going to fund everything without money?
Hey, it's politics. They can do anything. Promise anything. When it comes to actually doing it, that's another story. But yeah, I don't know. Look at the guy in New York. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He got elected. Now, maybe this and that. Things begin to change. They lie.
Oh, well, they were talking about putting it on as a constitutional amendment. Yeah, just
Yeah.
in Florida. So, of course, taxpayers, they just, they aren't going to think, I don't think most of them are smart enough to say, oh, well, you're given in one pocket, you're just going to take it away out of the other pocket. But yeah, we'll talk about it later. I'm watching things here.
The new world, ChatGPT will create the money.
Alex, your MTB alarm, it'd be nice if it closed like this. LUV up alarm, it would be nice if it closed like this. TMUS alarm, it's triggering relative strength. Now diamonds have a nice retracement.
Still within the range, 65-minute chart.
Q's the weakest. Yeah, there's a number of things here weak. Google had a nice bullish pop for some reason. Now it's another bank alarm just went off. PNC. It looks great if it closes like that. The site middle chart here. Be great if it closes like this. I'll reset the alarm now. And 34.20. EMXC. Breakout. Wow, IWM just made a new high. It just sliced through the pre-market and yesterday's closing resistance. All right, so CNXC, I like 30-minute high. Let's come back to it. I agree, Robert. That's just my freaking biggest question. How are you going to replace this lost revenue? Property taxes are the biggest source of revenue in the state. Property taxes and tourism tax. ITA, low alarm. We did a half lot of that short. But now we just added. Jack up alarm. Wow, nice. We've been in trail mode. No stop low now, 91.78. That was a beauty little bottom pattern. PAYX. I know that was another little bottoming pattern. Oh, deck is on fire here. Look at that hourly chart of deck. Wow, that's pre-market days in here, but look at the strength of that. RCL alarm, those were little bottoming patterns. Site alarm again. Wow, it just kind of blasted there. Must be light volume. UPS. Yeah. It's an inverse head and shoulder with two heads. I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's buy it. Stop yesterday's low. Bullish weekly. Yeah. Looks good. You can check if the call options are AD line at over 1,000. I guess. Did UPS split? I always thought they were a whole lot more than it's $97. Let me check put spread also. $95s will be tight for Friday, but there's no premium. Spreads, asinine, 29 by 68. FedEx, the cousin, is stronger. We just look at the MAs, but the other one's a better pattern. RCL alarm, it's not ready. Hilton, not ready. RF, another bank. I want the, hey, look at the 15. I'm sorry, the hourly. Look at that, that's an inverse head and shoulder, which you can see here too. Yeah, RF, maybe 30-minute high. FNB, another, is that a bank? The bull rectangle, not bad. I'd like it to close like this. House up alarm, nice. Tighten the stop. $14.31.